honesty of the honorable member, who I happen to know personally, Honorable Member Sokanyil. I believe that she's correct in what she's bringing my attention to.
Okay, Honorable Skosana. Are you fine, Honorable Sokanyil? Okay, Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think it's appropriate, Chair, for the Minister to downplay what we were given and we were told this document is part and parcel of the Minister's submission to us. And I mean, it means we must discard this information which were given to us, because it means he did not peruse the document, whether it's his lawyers, but he must take responsibility of this document. He can't downplay this. I mean, we were given this document this morning. We were told by the lady to say this document comes from the minister. It can't be downplayed, Chair. I don't think we are really. We have to take this thing as easy as that. That, you know what, the minister is distancing himself from the document. It can't be, Chair. Please protect us, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Shongwe.
No, Chair, I was in line with Honorable Skosana, but Chair, please protect us. The Minister has a tendency of ukusibonisa indlela akhuthele ngayo. Ubuzwa lo mbuzo asiphendula into yaseJohn yakaJohn waseNineve ayilandele kude. And that takes isikhathi, Chair. So siyacela ngasibonisa ukukhuthala kwakhe. And number 2, Chair, if leli phepha ezenalo yena akalithembi akasitshele manje silijikise ngoba if already seline error A1, how many more are there? So we must deal with this document immediately. Do we accept it or not? If utili right ilinje asiqhubeka nalo linje. Sazi ukuthi uXola ubani lo la uphilayo? Oh yabonaka. No, thank you.
Do you want to say something, Honorable Nqola? Okay. No, Honorable Minister, the members are right. You have to take responsibility for the material that have been submitted before us, especially that you make reference that these submissions have been made through the assistance of your legal team. You can imagine if Mr. Khombela or his family or people who know him are following the proceedings now, it may cause a very serious inconvenience on his part. Or if I arrive at home now, I just switch on television and I hear that Mr. Khombela is no more, I start sending messages of condolence to his family, because it's something which is being said in Parliament. I don't even have time to check the veracity of such statements. I think it can cause very, very serious inconveniences. And I think you, here on record, you must apologize for submitting that material, but also make an apology to whoever it may concern. Thank you so much.
I take full responsibility. Even before, I didn't say it is just lawyers that brought it, and I said I did insist that that report be brought to my lawyers. I didn't disown the report or the fact that it was brought in here. And so I take responsibility of ensuring that the report is brought in here. But I do acknowledge that it is clearly written that that's the Global Initiative report, which I identify with by and large. But I acknowledge that it has that error in relation to Councillor Khombela, and for that I apologize to the family and anybody else whom it affected. As such, it shouldn't have been that way. Thank you.
Honorable, yeah. Thank you so much, honorable members. Honorable Nqola, it is now your time.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I can also attest that Mr. Xola is alive and kicking, busy organizing horse racing events there, down there by Xola. I can give you his number so that you video call him through the lunchtime.
But do you know if there is other citizen using the same names?
No, Chair, there's only one Nqola who's a former speaker from Xola. There's only one person who was ambushed, but he was not killed. It is true that he was ambushed, but he was not killed. So there's a difference in the two. Okay, let me leave that, Chair. Minister, let's start with the audio that was played as part of your evidence. Firstly, I was concerned of Chair that the minister advised Mr. Nkabinde to record General Mkhwanazi without the consent or knowledge of General Mkhwanazi. So I thought it would be important that we consult some necessary and relevant legal prescripts in that regard. But I also saw that actually the RICA Act does allow one to record a communication if they are part of. So it gives two instances, two conditions, Chair, that if that person is part of that conversation and that person is not using that to commit a criminal offense. So I was quite worried, Machingwan. But this is the point where we've got different ways of interpreting what was happening. General Mkhwanazi testified and said, Mr. Nkabinde said to him, there may be unknown people who have tapped in his communication devices without his knowledge. Now, when you testify that you would have advised the chief of staff to make a recording of the conversation between him and General Mkhwanazi. What is your take on that?
Now, what I said, and also inclusive of the correction of the hitch that happened in the other room, on the second, when they started talking between them, General Mkhwanazi and Nkabinde, they talked about the things that I indicated, and that included on the first day that what I regarded as a threat, that if Minister Mchunu believes that he is clean, he should proceed with this. That was said on the first day. But on the 5th, when they spoke on the 3rd and 4th, and then they spoke on the 5th. Then that is when the recording started. Now, when they start the recording, they acknowledge what they had discussed on the 2nd, as you heard the other time. That needed to be clarified. Yes, they did speak about a supposedly screenshot conversation between them, but they themselves say they didn't know how that came about, but it had omission of things that they thought anyone who would have recorded them would have included them, but excluded some of those things. So you say you are concerned about that. We'll leave it to them and their recording. I was merely sharing the recording on my side.
Okay, you say part of what would have made you interested for recording of conversations is the fact that you got briefed by the chief of staff that the General Mkhwanazi is very angry and making threats. So you advised the chief of staff that it would actually be adequate that from now on you record the conversation. So you brought evidence in a form of an audio that part of the threats that you think that are being said in the audio is that someone says if you are clean, you can proceed and all those things. But I don't know what other honorable members would have heard in the audio, but what I heard in the audio was actually the sentiments of your chief of staff, Mr. Nkabinde, saying those things of being clean, not clean, and all those things. Did you finally get the part that which you wanted us to hear so that we are able to understand better your argument in regard to this? You'll recall that even Honorable Malema did advise that when you come back today, you must actually direct us exactly where we must go so that we understand your argument better.
The part that I was interested in was where such a statement was being made between them and then recorded. Now, it's only in reference, it turns out, because that part was said before they started recording. But it is referred to in the conversation on the 5th and acknowledged by them when they remind each other that whoever would have screenshot them when they were discussing would not have missed out on this part and that part. For instance, on the first part where there was talk of fight back, where there was talk of if the minister is clean. That conversation had not been or was not recorded, and I thought part thereof was actually recorded. That's why I brought it here. But it turns out that it is only in reference. So my answer to you is that I thought that that had been recorded. It turns out it had not been recorded. It just comes as a reference, rather.
Okay. Does the minister understand that as things stands, given that the response, the ad hoc committee doesn't have the evidence of threats as things stands now?
The ad hoc committee has a reference as it stands now, and I would advise that if it pleases the ad hoc committee, you can get Mr. Nkabinde to come and say it for himself. So it shouldn't just be, just because the recording, the actual recording is only in reference, and therefore that's the end of the game. It's not the end. And Nkabinde is alive, he can be asked to come so that he says it himself, if you so wish.
He's alive and kicking.
He's alive and kicking, just like...
No, it's fine.
Honorable Nqola,
Yes, Chair.
you know, this morning when we started, from this table, we made an announcement to members of the ad hoc committee that our support team followed up with the minister and his team to forward the extract that he wanted us to play on that day. And as at the time of resumption of proceedings this morning, that extract has not been forwarded to us. So it is not us. It was him who said it last week on Friday, that he wanted us to hear that extract and it was not there in the recording. And you are very right that when we rose, Honorable Malema said, please make sure that whatever piece of information you have you want to bring us, make it available. So it has not been made available, Honorable Minister. And the question that the Honorable Member is asking, he is justified to say that as it stands now, the ad hoc committee doesn't have that extract, which you promised that it will be made available.
Yes, Chair, and I give a reason. that I was under an impression that it had been recorded when the recording of their conversation had started, and it turns out that it had not started on the first day when that was mentioned. It only
Yeah.
started on the fifth day.
Yeah.
Yes.
I take the explanation, but the fact remains. As we proceed now, the extract is not here before us.
It is not here before us as intended, except to add that it is in reference,
Yeah.
only in reference.
Yeah. We agree. If we use the primary and the secondary, we will say the primary is not here.
I
Is
would
that so?
agree.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, there is a hand.
Honorable Malema.
I'm on the same point. The minister, because you are putting it as if we should have the recording. The minister does not have a recording. He told us he's got a recording and he wants us to play. That's number one. Number two, he wanted us to listen to something he never listened to himself. Because it's not there. And that's what you should be asking the minister. Not that where we are now, we don't have a recording. That recording doesn't exist. Let's agree there. That there was no such a recording where Mkhwanazi was threatening the minister. And that's why I was interested that he must bring that thing here, because we want to hear for real if minister was threatened. Minister comes, that thing is not here, and then we speak in different languages. We must put it on record that the minister doesn't have that recording, and therefore that recording doesn't exist.
You are absolutely correct, Honorable Member. And that is how we are proceeding. That is understood, Honorable Minister. We are proceeding from that premise that the evidence that you promised has not been presented before the ad hoc committee.
Again, yes, I've said so.
Thank you so much. Honorable Nqola, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I think both yourself, Chair, and Honorable Malema agree with me that as things stand now, we don't have evidence relating to threats leveled against the minister. I think let's pass the minister and go to your directive of the 31st of December 2024. There is an underlined word there that says immediately. And we discussed this thing with...
The word?
Immediately.
Okay.
And we discussed this thing with a lot of witnesses, so as to get what would have been their understanding of immediately. I remember General Spear said, immediately does not mean immediately now. We were left confused, all of us. So you say correctly so that part of what is contained in your directive is the fact that there must be a preliminary report on the 20th of January 2025 from the 31st. So your immediate now means that 20 days. Was that the intention of the immediate? The immediately.
Most of let me just go straight to your question. That immediate has a context, and that context is contained in the letter of directives. There's no way you can make a mistake out of it. It's contextualized. And the words that decisively form the context thereof is the call or the directive inclusive of the directive to bring or to refer that there would be a preliminary report. In fact, it was saying you will bring the preliminary report on the 20th. So that immediate, if you remove preliminary report, You remove it. And you remove what was also part of the directive in the form of the UNESCO. Then immediate takes another context. But if you bring in those two, bring in a context that although it was immediate, but there was a meeting that was coming. Coming with what? A preliminary report indicating clearly that you were not talking about something to be switched off. And that's the end of the day, you go and sleep. There was to be a preliminary report. There was to be a UNESCO report. Then that is the context, concretely, without any mistake.
Okay, so indeed, that immediate did not mean immediately. Do you agree with me that PKTT is born of the president's interventions to scale down political killings?
Yes, that was a political intervention by the president.
Is it your evidence that, given that, you found it adequate not to consult the president prior the decision was taken?
I would not agree with you exactly on that because it was pitched at ministerial level via the interministerial level, which is no longer obtaining in the 7th administration. It was not pitched at presidential level. It was pitched at ministerial level via the interministerial, via the minister who was chairing, but where there was interministerial, and there's no longer any ministerial. Okay. So I won't agree with you.
Okay, let me rephrase my question, Minister. Was President Cyril Ramaphosa informed or briefed or consulted prior the taking of the decision to dissolve the political killings task team?
You swallow a lot of words such that I don't hear.
It might be the mic. I'm saying, let me rephrase it. Was President Cyril Ramaphosa, as a person whose intervention are as a result of the PKTT establishment, consulted, informed, or briefed about the intended dissolution prior the decision was taken?
No.
He was not consulted. Okay. The president also established the interministerial committee, which you say in the 7th administration there is no interministerial committee. Maybe if you can brief us, when was it dissolved by the president, who appointed it? When were the closing reports being submitted, so that we better understand that if there were terms of reference, perhaps that guide it not to surpass the 6th administration. Has there been such?
What's the question?
I'm saying the question is, you say the interministerial committee is non-existent in the 7th administration. So I'm saying, did the person who appointed the interministerial committee dissolve the interministerial committee? 2, when were the closing reports of the IMC submitted to the president so as to seal the closing of the IMC? 3, were there terms of reference that say the interministerial committee only exists in the 6th administration?
Yeah, Honorable Nqola, you must not drown my witness with a bombardment of questions. May you please take your
one by one, Chair.
Your questions one by one.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So apologies, Mkhwanazi.
No, I understand all of
you.
it.
Okay, no, that's fine. He says he can take it in that fashion, Chair.
Just saying, go easy. You have time. I mean.
Okay, Chair.
My statement, that is my affidavit, only refers to the 7th administration not having an interministerial committee on the National Political Killings Task Team that was established in 2018 to focus in the main KZN. It doesn't go beyond that to say there was a report, there was closure of the report, and this is the report. It only makes reference that when I got appointed in the 7th administration as Minister of Police, there is no interministerial committee.
Is it the evidence of the minister that only the PKTT was carried over from the 6th administration to the 7th administration, not the IMC? Because the establishment of the PKTT was in the 6th administration as well. So it was carried over to the 7th administration. So are you saying now, Minister, that only the PKTT was carried over to another administration, but not the IMC?
I'm not saying so. That's why I indicate that it worries me to a point where I believe that there's something illegal about PKTT as it stands now, because it was renewed or extended annually up to 2022. So that is the state of my mind as I talk to you. And now that the PKTT was established and got extended annually, and the interministerial doesn't exist in the 7th administration.
Okay. In fact, it was established in the 5th administration, 2018. The 6th administration started in 2019. Then the 7th administration started in 2024. So it was carried over 3 successive terms. Now, that's why we don't understand it when the minister says, then therefore the interministerial committee is non-existent. But it's fine. Let's pass that part. What then becomes the status of the political killings task team now?
Currently. Well, that's a question that I would rather not respond to, because I'm not in office. I'm on leave, as you're aware.
Chair, we have had witnesses who testified differently on the status of the PKTT in respect of the letter written by the minister. Because the reason we're talking about the status of the PKTT is on the 20th of January, where a report was supposed to have been submitted. 2 months later, when you were taken to leave, are you saying you are unable to tell this committee that the status of the PKTT now is this and that? Because the evidence by General Mkhwanazi is that the PKTT is alive and kicking. The evidence by General Masemola is that the PKTT is alive and kicking. The evidence by Sibiya is that the PKTT is operating illegally somewhere in a corner.
Yeah, Sibiya is also General
Sibiya, yes, sorry, Chair. The evidence from General Sibiya is that PKTT has got a very questionable status now. And all these testimonies, Minister, come from the letter authored by you on the 31st of December. So we thought it is important that we get an information to ask from the author of the letter what then becomes the status of the PKTT now, because we are receiving contradicting statements about it.
I understand. I wrote the directives. The directives were responded to by the National Commissioner, in the main proposing or suggesting that it should be on the winding up, it should be on a phased approach. And it details that phased approach in a number of platforms, including on the 5th including on the 6th. And then the process of winding out is then underway. While it is under discussion, as would have been intended by the preliminary report and the report at UNESCO, then there's a press briefing on the 6th, and then there's a commission as we speak. So what is there at the moment?
I can't see the witness. Then you can proceed with them.
What is there at the moment in terms of my response to you is that there's a process of a discussion which has not been completed while PKTT continues to operate.
Okay, that answer is quite satisfying. Now, Section 206, subsection 1 of the Constitution accords you powers and relates in respect of the service, and it gives us two major obligations that you have. The first of which is being responsible for the policing policy. The second of which is being responsible for policing needs. So, would you say the directives of the 31st qualify to be a policing policy, or they are just policing needs?
Or they qualify to be what? Second one?
Policing needs. Section 206 speaks about policing policy and policing needs. So does it qualify as a policing policy or a policing needs?
The directives are linked to Section 207 too, because it talks about policing policy. And of course, in 6, there's also policing needs, but in 207 too, there's also the issue of directives. In other words, the Constitution talks about policing policy, but it talks about directives as well. Stand on their own as part of the duties or powers, if you like, of a minister. And therefore, it was part of the powers that can be exercised by a minister while in office, not necessarily falling within policy or policing needs, because all of them are written on their own. Policing policy is on its own. Policing needs of a province on its own, and then directives on their own.
Okay, that's fine.
That's my understanding.
So the letter is written on the spirit of 2072, not 2061.
No, but I would say in practice you can't then separate to a point of creating Chinese walls on policing policy and needs of a province. Neither can you build a Chinese wall between the two and the directives. In operationally, they are not necessarily mutually exclusive, as it were.
Okay, but I'm asking because also 206(1)
Yes.
actually requires you to consult provinces.
Yes,
Yeah, so that's why I was asking.
yes.
You also, as part of your evidence, presented to that committee a new organogram that is meant to restructure the organizational design, architecture, and all those things. When was it adopted?
It was adopted in 2019.
It was adopted in 2019, not in 2025.
Pardon?
not in 2025?
It was adopted in 2019.